All power to the people. All power to the people. Thank you, Nino, for having me here. I just want to remind our community that we have to keep Genele centered in this. She is a child. She was a child, a high school student that was brutalized by a police officer. And I'm going to disagree with some of the folks standing up here with me. It's definitely about race. As Nino pointed out, if she was a dog, we'd have responded a little bit more differently. If she was a dog, that police officer would have been held accountable. But what she is and was at the time was a black little girl. A black little girl who they decided beforehand was too defiant and too disrespectful to treat as a human. And that is where we need to center this. It's in her humanity, in the humanity of black people everywhere, and specifically in Madison, where white liberals are happy in terms of, like, it's like we live in a reality where white people who say they're for justice and equality rather see process versus justice. And we are demanding justice. We are demanding that the officer is fired. We're demanding the resignation of Chief Koval. We are demanding community control over police. What we do understand is what has been happening within the Madison Police Department and nationwide is the lack of power in our communities. We don't have the power to hold people accountable for when they injure us, whether it's brutally beating one of our children or murdering one of our children. So in the last year, 2 years, we've had a death. One of our baby boys was shot by Madison Police Department, killed, murdered. And we were, instead of us focusing on holding the police accountable, we wanted to examine and analyze the process, right? We wanted to say this is a legality issue, but we're not asking for people to review if it's lawful, as the mayor pointed out yesterday, that it is not about laws, it's about justice, it's about humanity, it's about ethics, it's about morality. And anytime that we can watch a video of a little girl being kneed over and over, tased over and over, and punched in the ribs and dragged and treated like an animal, and our response is, well, what happened before? Does it really matter what happened before? It didn't matter. What mattered is that we had a little girl who was brutalized by a Madison police officer. And until we stop being the nice white liberal Madison, and our city council, and our Dane County Board, and our mayor, and our chief, and everyone else who says they stand for justice, until we put the niceties aside and accept responsibility and accept that this is racism built in white supremacy on the foundation of the genocide of one race and enslavement of the other, then we are walking blind. And we are not making progress until we acknowledge the wounds, because we cannot heal the wounds until we acknowledge the wounds. So let's stop playing, Madison. Let's stop being the nice white liberal Madison who likes to partake in niceties and nice conversations that are comfortable. Because what is happening to our children in the street is not comfortable. They're dying, and they're dying physically, emotionally, and mentally. You think Genele is the only one that's been beaten and treated like this by Madison Police Department? It happens in our community all the time. And unless someone like us record it, then it's not believable. Because even if the body camera is on it, right? The dash cam is edited. We knew that in Tony Robinson's murder. You watched the edited film, and you knew that the whole story was not being told. And we can't, even if we have body cameras, we can't even hold them accountable for us to see it. It's not even accessible. But what they want to do, and what we've been trying to do in Madison, is just give like a little surface healing. Like, it's okay. We're going to offer her restorative justice. She's going to admit to her wrongs, and yet we're going to say the police is a victim. She's a little girl who was upset at the mall, and if she was white, she would have been given the space to be upset, because I see it downtown on campus all the time. White boys getting mad, fist fighting, acting a fool, and you know what the police come and do? They give them a warning and say, go rest up. So until we have equity, until we have justice, until my people are treated no different than the white people in the street, this is damn sure about race. So don't you drop the race card. Don't you pretend like this is about anything else but racism, white supremacy, and the lack of power in our community. And it is time for community control over the police, meaning that we set the precedents, we set the priorities, we hire and fire, we hold the police accountable, we hold our chief accountable, and we hold everybody accountable that negatively impacts our children in our neighborhood. We are at 75% poverty rate for black children. Genele is one of them. Yes. Homeless. That phone meant the world to her. Yes, but because of our privilege, we can't even start to fathom what that phone meant to her. So what I'm saying to us, as Madison community, I don't care what side you stand on, where you at, this little girl didn't deserve to be treated like an animal in the street. And what I'm going to do is welcome in Adams to explain what community control over police is and to give us more of a concrete understanding. All power to the people.
Let me just add, I'm going to have you have John Hendrick, who's former chair of the County Board of Supervisors, talk about the role of the county, and then I'm going to have you answer. Okay?
So I'll be very brief. So on
everybody, M. Adams.
So I think it was 2 Tuesdays ago, maybe this Tuesday, when Genele was beaten and assaulted and tased and brutalized at Easttown Mall. That same Tuesday, maybe 10-20 minutes away, there was Tessa Kellogg, who's a white woman, who crashed her moped. I think maybe she was using drugs. She crashed her moped into someone, a car or something. The police came to arrest her. She resisted arrest. She kicked the officer, she ran, and she was not tased, beaten, MMA style knee, brutalized. What was the difference, right? So in both instances, you have the same exact laws in place, you have the same exact culture in place, you have the same exact actors, officials, lawmakers, and police leaders in place. The difference was race. So why is it that a police officer thinks he can assault a black girl, but not assault a white woman? It is because the police is accountable to the white community. The police are not accountable to low-income black communities. We cannot have accountability without power. So we are demanding community control over the police. Control being operative. We are not asking for police officers to play nice, right, through some facade of community policing and play basketball with our kids. Because there was a police officer playing basketball somewhere while Genele was being beat. There was a police officer handing out baseball cards while Genele was being beat. And there was a police endorsement of some social event while Genele is being beat. Right? We are not asking for what people are describing as nicer police officers. We are demanding control over a system that should be serving us. And control to us means we, the community, have the power to hire and fire the police officer. If it was up to the community, we would have fired Matt Kinney a long time ago. When Matt Kinney killed the first unarmed person, we would not have given him an award and said, great job, keep policing. And then when he killed Tony Robinson, we wouldn't say, you're doing such a great job, why don't you go and train officers, right? We demand the power to hire and fire the police officers. Police officers also need to live in the communities in which they serve. No more of these police officers living God knows where and driving into South Madison. No more of that, right? If you really want to have a security, a safety mechanism, it has to be built from and developed within that community. We also demand the power to determine the policies, the practices, and the priorities of the police. We get to say what is just policing. We get to say what is safety. To us, Genele was always important to be safe. Genele would never stop being our community, right? Genele never stopped being human to us. We never thought that a argument in Taco Bell was worth Genele's safety, right? We never thought Tony Robinson getting in a fight was more important than him being alive. We would have never made those choices, right? We demand the power to be able to determine what that is. We recently wrote an article, if you want to learn more about community control of the police. It's in the Wisconsin Law Review. We'll also be doing presentations. We demand community control over the police. The police can do whatever they want to do in our communities, to our communities, both in Madison, nationwide, and also around the world, because black community doesn't have power over the police. There is no accountability without power. We are not demanding a seat at the table. We are demanding complete control over the police.
Thank you. As I wrap up here, I really need to highlight some of the things that have been said. We need to remember here, Genele was brutalized. She was a victim. She shouldn't have to go and be on parole light and apologize to those that victimized her and beat her. They beat her. They kneed her, they punched her, they put her head and face in the street. No matter what happened in the mall, this was unacceptable behavior. But what can we expect when this police department is headed by a police chief that will go in and bully and yell at elected representatives, that will go off and spew basically really dog whistle and racial coding politics that is equivalent of things that we've heard from Donald Trump? What can we expect from our police department in treating our young black women, young black girls with respect and humanity and dignity, and trying to step back and de-escalate? The officer that came in and escalated the situation was trained with our mental health training and is on the team for cultural competency. Exactly, it's a joke. This police department is a joke. This police chief is a joke. He wants to stand in front and protect his officers that he is responsible for. He wants to talk about personal responsibility. Be responsible for your officers. They want to talk about personal responsibility for Genele. Be personally responsible for the 11-to-1 arrest ratio we have in this city. Be responsible for 75% of the black children living in this city. Right here, right now, we need to be responsible for the society that we create, for the poverty living in this city that we are created. He wanted to expand our police force, wants to expand our police force, that criticizes the Common Council for wanting to do an audit of his police department. We have already about 40 more officers than other cities our size. That is millions of dollars more for a $65 million police budget every year, yet he wants to complain about $400,000? We have millions more than what we actually need. I say he pushed back and he said, police don't address poverty. He's right, police don't address poverty. So why are we spending millions of dollars more on our police that aren't addressing poverty in our city? He is irresponsible, he's a bully, and he's a racist. Our police department reflects the head of it. He needs to go. He needs to be gone, he needs to resign or be fired. Either way, any changes that we try to put in place, he will resist. His police will resist because he is the face, he is the head of that. So anything from this police, from the 21st century police report and recommendations to anything from the ad hoc that comes from it, he will resist and push back, particularly on anything when it comes to use of force spectrum that is not somebody that we can have and actually look forward to changes that we made. So any way that we can do changes, he needs to go first. That is the first step to the changes that need to be made, that must be made, that is imperative to be made to our police department.